Good afternoon. Hey, this is Trish with Hip Homeschool Moms, and I am here with our team and with Rachael Carman from Apologia. So y'all introduce
Hello.
yourself. Hey, Rachael, tell us who you are and where you are and what you're doing, and then we'll let everybody else introduce themselves.
I am Rachael Carman, and I am I'm married to the president of Apologia Educational Ministries, which is kind of cool. And I am homeschooling 2 of 7 children this year. I have 4 still at home. I've graduated 3, and they're in college. And we are off to a great but already frazzled start to our homeschool year. So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Wendy?
I'm Wendy, and I'm also with Hip Homeschool Moms, and I live in the South with my 3 kids and my husband and all of our animals. This is our 17th year of homeschooling. We've been doing this a long time.
You sure have. Leanne?
Hi, I'm
Leanne's
Leanne.
sitting outside. She's a smart one. She's getting some good vitamin D.
Yeah. I'm Leanne. I am also one of the owners of Hip Homeschool Moms, and I am sitting outside enjoying the beautiful weather here outside of Nashville, Tennessee.
Yep. And she's got an only.
Yes.
She's the only of the group, so she homeschools one. And I'm Trish. I'm in Memphis, and it's sort of a rainy, gloomy day. And I have 3 boys. I homeschool high school, middle school, and elementary. So I have a little bit of everything. So we're excited to be here with Rachael. And Rachael has, I'm a huge fan, all of us are huge fans of Apologia already. I have used every single book all the way up through biology. How's that?
Wow.
I know. So, and I still have several more to go. We still have all of them. So anyway, so we're big fans. We like the fact that we can start with one and go all the way through high school with it. So it makes it really not hard to follow. So that's one of the things I love about it. But y'all do a lot more than just science curriculum these days.
It's true.
So tell us what you're up to. I know you're a homeschool mom. You just talked about that. So tell us about you. Tell us how all this came to be, and tell us how you started homeschooling. So talk to us.
Oh, my goodness. Our homeschooling journey was not picture perfect. In fact, I used to make fun of homeschool moms.
Oh, how dare you?
I know, right? It's kind of God's sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting paid back.
We lived in a neighborhood in Akron, Ohio. Oh, yeah. After we gave birth to our first son, I met the first homeschooling mom I was ever going to meet. And, in fact, I'd never even heard the phrase homeschool before. And Davis took a meal. They brought a meal to us, and he was returning dishes. And it came back, and I said, "So what are they like?" Because we just moved to the neighborhood. And he said, "They're a little weird." And I said, I don't understand. Davis is not really one to characterize people as strange. And I said, "Why would you say that?" And he said, "They homeschool." And I was like, "Oh, that is weird." And so anyway, God had us live close to them for 3 years. And for 3 years, we got to live with these other families. There were 2 other families on the street that homeschooled their kids. And they weren't weird. They loved God. I know, right? I was so sure that I was right and they were wrong. They loved God, they loved each other, and they loved their kids. And over those 3 years, I really got to respect them, but it still wasn't for me. It was still great for them. And so we moved away, and we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And God put us in a situation where our back was against the wall. We had a circumstance at the public school that was not okay. My son was not put on the bus the first day and put on the wrong bus the second day.
Oh, my gosh.
And I really believe that it was a host of angels that sat in his lap keeping him on that bus, because he was such a rash personality type. It would have been totally within his personality to think, got to get off the bus somewhere. I might as well just get off here. And, yeah, I mean, I could have been the mom on the 5 o'clock news going, "Please bring back my son."
Oh,
but
such a scary thought.
I know, it was terrifying. But still, we weren't considering homeschooling. And then after 13 days, he hadn't brought anything home, and Davis went up to the school just going, this is just not okay. What is going on? What's not going on? And he brought him home that day. And I was terrified. I was terrified.
Did you look at him like he had lost his mind?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I spent the morning, so he spent the morning at school, right? And I was kind of afraid that he might actually bring the kid home. So I spent the morning investigating second mortgages and private schools. I did. I called all these little private schools around town, and as soon as he got home, we put Anderson and Savannah, and Savannah was just a baby, and Anderson was like, I don't know, 3, and we put them in the car, and we spent the whole afternoon driving around to all these little private schools, and he had to be tested like 6 different times, and we got him on the waiting list. And get this, in all of Charlotte, North Carolina, there was not a place for him.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was definitely a God thing.
It was totally a God thing, but was I paying attention? No, I was not paying attention. And so we get home, and I love the way Davis tells the story. He tells it so lovingly. He said, I finally shut up long enough to breathe. Because he said that I had just been going la, 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 la the whole time. And I finally had to breathe, and he said, the fateful words, he said, well, what about homeschooling? He says my head spun on my shoulders. And I looked at him in my most loving and submissive way. And I said, just let me get this straight. You get to go to work every day, and I get stuck at home with the kiddos? Is that how it's going to be?
Oh, my goodness. I didn't bring Kleenex. I wasn't expecting to laugh so hard that I'd cry now. Oh, my goodness.
So then, it gets better, Trish. Hold on. So I make my statement. I draw a line in the sand, and he looks at me, and this is the next thing he says. He goes, well, I just know that we've been praying all year for his teacher, and I think we've been praying for you.
Oh, that is sweet.
What do you say to that?
You can't, yeah.
It was so dear. And so then I'm like, I never am. I was speechless. So then our mantra became, you can't mess up kindergarten. So that was our plan. We'll just.
Do you know how many times we say that so often in our group? You can't, it's kindergarten, y'all. Remember, it's kindergarten. Really, this is the one grade you can't mess up. So exactly. So you jumped in. Good for you.
Yeah, I did. I jumped in. A, apple, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 5, 10, 12, 5, 10, 15. I can't even do it. And I just thought, okay, we can't mess this up. And, both sides of the family were okay with that because they were just like, okay, they're only going to do it this year. She hasn't jumped off the deep end of the planet. But then we went, and this is what I tell everybody, you have to go to a conference. Because then we went to a homeschool conference, and it literally changed everything.
Really?
We stepped into the conference, and we looked around, and they didn't look weird like we thought they were going to. We thought we would show up, and they would all be weird. I don't know what we thought, if they would have bags on their head. I don't know what we thought. But we thought that it was just going to be a weird people convention, and we would see, this is why we're not, did you see? And it wasn't. These were normal, functioning people, and they were nice, and we were just so amazed. I mean, God so completely and totally met us at that conference that on the way home, we were just like, this changes everything. I mean, if we do this, we could do that, and if we did that, we could do that, and then we could do, and it just, it was like a domino effect, and it's like everything opened up. So, my journey into homeschooling it's not beautiful.
It's fantastic, though. It's real. That's what so happens with so many families. It's something occurred, something that triggers this, and then they're thrown in, and so you've walked that. You've lived that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, I am so grateful to have been placed in a position where I really felt my back was against the wall. I really feel like God knew that that's what I needed. And so when I hear the stories of other families and their backs against the wall. I'm like, I get that. I get that. This is your opportunity to step out and do something that I get you can't. I get that. Because Tish, do you feel like you can do this? I mean, do you feel
every
qualified?
day? No, every day. I think that's the mantra. I think we overcome every single day. Every single day we get up. Every single day we try our best. Every single day we look at our kids and say, I love you, but right now you need to go do something independent because I've got X, Y, Z going on. I mean, it's real. I think that's the one thing that I think moms, when they first start homeschooling, they have this image, this vision, this pie in the sky dream of what homeschooling is going to look like, and they don't realize it's real. Just like what you were just talking about, it's real. It is every day. It's there are challenges every day. There are hurdles every day that we have to jump. There are stumbling blocks every day. Some we don't get around that day. Some it may take a week or a month. So I love that you're real. I love that in the book. Oh my gosh, in the book you talk about some of this, and it's so much fun to see that. Where I think moms need that, especially homeschool moms that are really starting out. I think that's their fear. One of the questions in the group consistently is doing it right. And I said, you get to define right. You get to define right. So one of the things that I'm fascinated with, and you had me at the very beginning of the book, you mentioned taking a walk with your dad. And that you loved walking with your dad on the beach. Okay, so I'm from North Carolina. I'm from the coast of North Carolina, and my dad and I both are beach lovers, and he passed away in 2011. So when I read that, I was like, I so get that. I so get that. So so I'm going to finish the book just simply because I love that one line, and you talking about how your dad gave you so much sage wisdom, just walking on the beach and being and doing. But so keeping it real. All of us are having struggles right now. So what do you do when you have those struggles? You mentioned that it's not perfect this year. What are you struggling with?
Well, okay, this is our 19th year, and every year I get to be giddy in August. Everything's possible in August. I guess maybe it's the whole conference season. I go into conference season, I'm like, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year that we do all the experiments in the book. This is going to be the year when we keep up with our journal. This is going to be the year when we do the dictation. This is going to be the year. And every year, I mean, I just must be really slow on the uptake because I keep thinking we're going to do that. And, I get like this far into September and I go, this is not going to be the year. And it's okay, it's leaning in. It's what I find, because I feel like every year I'm planning for the sake of the children, and I find that I get into the year and somewhere in I've planned for Rachael and things that I wanted to do, things that I thought would be fun, and I have to readjust. Or I thought we were going this direction, and dadgummit, I bought curriculum for this direction.
And you spent money, hard-earned money on that, and you're married to it. I know what happened. You married that curriculum.
I know, baby. And and that's what I want to say. I bought curriculum for this. Or I researched something, and I feel prepared, and it takes a turn. And I need to take that turn, and I need to take it without being angry or bitter or resentful. And the other thing, too, is I get over-ambitious every year. So one of the things we do in our homeschool, and I think I don't think I've posted about this yet, but one of the things we do in terms of writing, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you. We do a lot of writing around here because I used to teach high school English in my professional days. And one thing that I learned about writing is the key to writing is just writing a lot. It doesn't have to be a formal 5-paragraph essay or a 15-paragraph essay. It can just be just something. And so we do a lot of different writing around here. So we'll do nature journals. We'll do notes to, we have a rotation of letters that we write to different people. We do free writes. We do formal papers, but we just do a lot of different writing. Well, I thought that this was the year that the boys, 10 and 12, I thought this was the year we do 2 letters a week, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. It's not that year. And I really wanted it to be that year because, see, I had planned out 2 letters a week. I had a plan. And so I've had to step away from that. And I really think that that is a lot of what homeschooling is about, is learning flexibility and adjustment graciously.
Mm-hmm.
And letting things go that really don't matter, and giving yourself permission to adjust, and giving yourself permission to change or let go. There was one thing I wanted to do this year with the boys, and I mean literally I got 2 lessons in and I was like, not the year, not the year. And I may try it again in the next semester. I may pick it back up, but I was really excited about it.
I did one. I got 1 lesson in on economics that had to back out. I get it.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
So
And
how do you
isn't it
feel
glorious,
about,
though? Isn't it glorious that we have the freedom to back out when we step in and we realize that it's not where our children are,
it.
that we do have the freedom to back out.
And you know, I punted. I figured.
What do you think about not finishing a curriculum? Trish and Leanne and I have talked about this before, and we get questions about it a lot on our Facebook page. What if you get, you use a curriculum through December or January, and then you realize this is just not working for me or for my children? Do you scrap it and start over? Do you finish it next year? What do you do?
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, it depends on what the curriculum is. So my kids would love if the answer to that is, if I get 15 or 20 lessons into algebra and it's just not for me, never return to that. I think it depends on what the curriculum is. Sometimes it's just not this season or not right now. I think most of you are aware, we've just walked through a tremendous season of change around here. My oldest son got married, and then I did what I'm going to tell you now, don't do. And that is, I delivered 2 to college within 10 days of each other.
I saw your pictures.
Yeah, serious. Wow. And that's a whole.
So are they
other
going to the
conversation.
same school?
No,
Of course,
2 different schools.
Why would they do that? Why would they do that? That would be way too easy for you.
Yeah, it's rough. It's been really rough. But we've had a lot of emotion come through the house. It's been kind of emotionally charged in the aftermath of dropping off older siblings. And so that brings adjustment, too, with curriculum and, sort of seeing where we are today. And, I had a rough day on Monday. I just walked by Anderson's bedroom, and he's not there. And I would go in every morning and say good morning to him, and what are you planning on doing today? And I just went in and sat down on his bed and cried for a minute and then pulled myself back together. Mm-hmm. But we're all having those moments. And so that's another aspect, I think. It's not just where our children are mentally and, where are they crossed over to abstract thinking, where they are emotionally on any given day. And I think it's just so awesome that we have the opportunity to consider that as their moms. I think if they're in a classroom and they're going through this kind of stuff, there's no consideration made. It's, we're doing lesson 15 today, buddy, buck up,
Mm-hmm.
But we have the ability to say, look, why don't we just put it away? Yeah, exactly. So
yeah. I know. And you said something a few minutes ago that I think Wendy was probably going to climb through the monitor and come hug you. You mentioned being a teacher of English, and Wendy is a grammar Nazi. She's our resident grammar Nazi at Hip Homeschool Mom. We love her anyway, right, Wendy?
Usually, most of the time.
We all need We all need one in our life. We all need each other.
Well, she's the resident grammar Nazi in our world, and she has this secret love of folks. I really know it. She hasn't shared this, but she has a secret love for folks that are like her, that are also, have this literacy down pat. And it's like, okay, when you said that, I knew Wendy. Saw this huge smile come on Wendy's face, and I had to say, "Oh, you just got a huge fan in Wendy." So I had to bring that up. Wendy, go ahead and tell her. I know you were smiling.
Thank you, Trish. She's absolutely right. She's absolutely right. Yeah, I actually enjoy that.
But
sort of thing.
At the same time, you probably know what I know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There's a delay.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes people think, oh, well, you homeschool your kids. You were a professional educator.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, Wendy, but I feel like at the end of the day, it was actually a detriment to be professionally trained.
I agree.
I just think it's really hard. I had to unprofessionalize myself. Like you unschool kids if you bring them home.
That's right.
I had to really change my approach because of how I had been trained.
That's right. That's right. I was talking to somebody about this just a few days ago, and they said, how strict are you with your routine and what you get done and sticking to your curriculum and to your lesson plan for the day and all that? And I said, well, 17 years ago when I left the classroom and came home to teach my kids, I was very strict, very regimented. We did school at home is what we did. And then over the years, I realized I was causing my kids to hate school, to hate learning. And it was also causing problems in our relationship. And I had to unlearn all those things. So you're right. It's not really an advantage.
Mm-hmm. Leanne's also a former high school math teacher. Mm-hmm. So two of the three owners of Hip Homeschool Moms are former educators. And here's Trish. So it's doable, y'all. Don't let them fool you. You can be a nobody and still teach.
Definitely. There's so many more advantages to learning with your own kids than there are with a professional degree.
I agree. I learned right with them. And you know what? I think that's something else that new moms think that, when they walk in and they're like, oh, I was awful in algebra, or I don't know how to diagram a sentence, or, whatever. And I'm like, you learn with them. Go back and because there's so many things. I don't know about y'all, but I pull out the history books and I'm sitting there with my kids reading something and I'll go, did I learn that? Yeah. I don't remember learning that. Did they cover that? Because I don't know if I just didn't retain it or if it wasn't covered. And as y'all know, we now have a completely different focus as moms. We get to pick what we teach and our focus of how we teach it. And so it may not have been covered. One thing that we love to do is have the Bible and history blended, and where you can see that Cleopatra was happening at this time and that time. I love that. I never was taught that, and so I love that. But I learned right along with them. I have never been the keeper of the knowledge. I have always been, let's look it up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, well, I was a history major actually, and what stuns me is how revisionist and how liberal the history was that I was taught, and how so much of God was extracted, and we never did original documents. And so now, that's like a whole new history to learn it from a conservative experience. Yeah, it's been awesome.
I know, and that's actually exactly my point. And so it's like, wow, either I was not taught this or they skimmed it so quickly that it didn't seem important and it was just evaporated out of away from our conscious at the time. So but
exactly.
So tell us about, how does it feel now? You have 2 at home and you have 3 off doing their own thing now. So what's the future hold for you? I assume you're going to continue to homeschool, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I actually have 4 at home, but the 2 girls are in high school, and so they're pretty much self-directed. They do some online classes and a couple of community classes, and then we do some things at home. I more supervise their school instead of just actually teaching it. We do a history group with some other people, and so that I'm the most involved in that. But really primarily I'm teaching Ben and Joseph, and so they're 10 and 12, and that's more hands-on for me now, and I'm just loving it. I feel like Ben and Joseph are getting my best.
Isn't that funny? And you've been
Because
doing it how long? How long have you been homeschooling?
This is our 19th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So it's taken you 19 years to get this?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is going to terrify half of your audience. They're going to think, well, I can't do it for 19 years. It's totally worth it, you know?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, there's probably a lot of people that are much faster learners than I am. So.
That's it. That's it. No, really. I mean, but there are years. I mean, honestly, there have been years that I was like, oh, man, I've got this. I can do this. And we just did a really amazing year or semester. And then there are years where you're in transition. Like this year, we're going into doing high school. And that throws everything into tizzy, and it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? All over again. I'm that I don't know if I could do this again. So, yes, it's a spiral. So I can understand that now you feel like they're getting your best because it's this spiral. That there are times that are really great, and there are times that you just struggle through it, and you keep going, but you struggle through it, right? Yeah. You know. So tell us about this new book.
And wait, but I think Trish, I think you've hit on a key thing, though. I really think the perseverance is the key. I think the temptation is to throw your hands up and run from the building and say, okay, I give. But I do think it is really about persevering and sticking to it and trudging through it. I mean, sometimes it's just glorious. I mean, you're just amazed at what you achieve. I mean, a couple of days this week, we have gotten so much done. I mean, I've just been shocked. And then other days, I look at the lesson plan, I'm like, not one thing on this list did we achieve today. I mean, not one thing. And I do think it's just about pushing through. I think so many moms just think, well, you know, it's just not working. So it's just not working. And it's just like, well, you got to give it some time, you know.
And sometimes that time takes more than a year. Honestly, it probably took me really not even to feel like I had it, but to feel like I had a groove or a routine. It probably took me 3 years. And Wendy just said that she had to ditch hers and change her whole teaching style. So, how long in were you? How far in were you, Wendy, when you had to change?
Well, it depends on which year you're talking about.
See?
We have actually made it to about halfway through the year a few times and just said, you know, we need to change what we're doing. And then other times we've realized after just a few lessons that it wasn't for us. So it varies.
Yeah, and perseverance is it. You know, we see so many moms that are really just starting out, and they're so scared, and they're so nervous, and they want to do it right, and how it should be. You know, all those words we should not be using. But they pull them out, and they're comparing. You know, when you're in a group or in an environment, that's one of the downsides of going to conventions is you see all these other folks, and you want to compare yourself. I think that's our natural tendency, right? So there's that going on too, and that's probably for me when we're talking to moms, that's probably one of the first things I say is, you know, get out of the comparison game. Don't go there. Don't go there.
It's so hard to get out of it. It's so hard not to compare ourselves. And what the new folks aren't often thinking about is, and I've heard this different places, is they're comparing somebody else's homeschool life who may have been homeschooling for 5 or 10 or 15 years, and they've been doing it for 5 days or haven't even started yet.
Exactly.
We forget that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, and I don't even know if they intentionally are comparing. I think what they're really using is trying to get a measuring stick, not in a comparison way, just in a what's normal. What's normal?
I agree.
You know, because they don't know, and so they're just asking these questions and getting all this response and getting folks, you know, to give them an idea, but what does happen is comparison, and I don't think they realize that. So, yeah, you know, and that's one of the challenges for us, and especially Rachel. I'm sure you bump into that at almost every convention you go to.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you tell them? What do you tell them when they start that? When they start comparing?
Well, I feel like instead of comparing, we should be sharing what God is doing, how God's showing up, how He's coming and providing everything we need, and showing us things that we never even knew we needed. That's what amazes me, is there are things that I know I need His help in, and He's so good to meet that. But it's the things that I thought I had that He shows up in that I'm just so grateful for, even more really sometimes than my need. And so I really try to encourage us all to realize that our marriages are unique, our children are unique, our life circumstances are unique. Some of these dads travel all the time. Some of them are home all the time. Some of them are employed. Some of them are self-employed, unemployed. All of our circumstances are unique. Our schools are going to be unique. And so just learning what our kids need at this season in our life is really the key. And to lean into the unique plan that God has for us and not try to be somebody else's school, because it's dangerous. What we found in North Carolina, by the way, you were saying how long it took you to sort of hit your groove. We found in North Carolina that there's sort of a revolving door for the first 3 years, but somehow if people make it through that third year, they're really able to establish, they're sort of able to break away from Susie, that they were trying to do everything like Susie. And, the second year they kind of do a little different from Susie, but by the third year they're realizing, I got to ditch Susie because that's not working for me. And I need to do my own thing. And I think that's
that. Bye, Susie.
Bye, Susie. I'm out of here.
That is hilarious.
But it takes you a little while to think, that's okay. I can forge my own path. And I think that that's encouraging if people can think, okay, it's just going to take some time.
I agree. So you have now had students that have gone literally from kindergarten all the way through high school and now into college. So what was that experience going from the high school and going, I assume y'all did college tours. I assume you did that whole experience. So tell us about that. None of us on this call have ever been there. So tell us about it.
It's very exciting. You work all this time and you're dreaming with them along the way. What might God do? What are you interested in? And you're watching and you're paying attention to their different giftings and their different interests. And you're probably chasing, if you're going to soccer games or we did Civil Air Patrol with Charles, or you're doing dance or voice or choir or whatever, you're chasing with your kids and dreaming with them. And then you start to think about, where do you think you want to go? And to me, it is just such a glorious time. I think high school, junior high and high school, I think are the terrifying years to so many people. I think they're just the cream. When those kids can start having conversations and you can start talking about where they see God moving in their own lives and what they're feeling drawn to do and how they want to glorify Him with their life and start dreaming about where they might go. And I just think it's the best time. We started talking about God just showed up in miraculous ways with Charles, and it's a longer conversation than we have time for here, but it was one of those situations where, Trish, we had a plan, and
one of those that the plan didn't work out again.
Yeah, and just for the record, it was a really good plan. I just want you to know it was a good plan. And he was marching in a certain direction for 4 years. And at the 11th hour, he just became convicted that was not God's plan after all. And I wanted to throttle him and hug him simultaneously.
Didn't it scare you to death? Because when you have a plan like that, it's like, what?
Because just like, what have we been doing for the last 4 years? Have you not been paying attention? We've done everything for this plan, for this outplay. And we had missed, because we had a plan, we had missed all of the early registration deadlines for school. This was his senior year. In September of his senior year, he decided that what we thought he was going to do after he graduated was not what he was going to do after he graduated.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
So we've missed all of the early registration out, and we've missed everything. And I literally was waking up and going, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I was just like, what are we doing? What are we going to do? And God again, God is just so good.
He's faithful.
God had I had noticed this one gap year program was Impact 360. I had noticed it at a couple of conferences, and I just was like, we don't need that. We've got a plan. We've and,
that good plan.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, yeah. I mean, you've done that to curriculum too, right? You walk by that booth because I've got that figured out. I'm good. So we get to this point and we don't have a plan all of a sudden. And I mentioned to Davis about this program, and Davis they had their last open house, and they went, and through a series of just God doing something amazing through that program, he ended up God redeemed all the work that we had done on Plan A and rolled it into putting him at another college with a scholarship because of what we had done for Plan A.
Wow.
I mean, I thought we have just wasted 3.5 years. I did. I thought, you're not doing that? What? And then God, I mean, it was just incredible. And Charles even called, and he said, you are not going to believe what God did. And God rolled all that we had done into a leadership scholarship at this other college. I mean, it was just incredible.
Isn't that wonderful? What a blessing to hear about that, because that does scare a lot of moms. High school, especially in the 9th hour, like you're talking about, a change then would send most of us into a tailspin. Most of us would go into a tailspin.
Well, and I'll be really candid with you, and Charles has given me permission for this. My son tests like his mom, which I'm not apparently really good at filling in circles with a lead pencil. And so, I graduated with my honors from college.
I was about to say, you did something right.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. So he didn't test well either, and we had navigated that with Plan A. But for Plan B, I mean, I was just panicked. And I will never forget. I mean, Davis he's clearly the calm, cool head around here. And he put his hands on my shoulders when I was just like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And he said, you know what? Your son is more than an SAT score.
That's right. That's right.
I knew that. I believed that. But my flesh was leaning in to the world standard, and I was panicked because I was like, but everybody's going to look at that, and they're going to think that I'm just, it was back to it all being about me, frankly, because I was like, oh, really, I really was a lousy. Apparently, I really was a bad homeschool mom. My goodness, look, he can't fill in circles either. Great.
It wasn't even then about, really, I would have gone to genetics. I would have been like, he inherited that from me. It would have been even worse. It wouldn't have been that I was a bad homeschool mom and I gave him bad genes.
Exactly. It was a twofer. I needed bad genes and I was a bad homeschool.
There you go.
So it was just remarkable to see what God did. Anderson, very intelligent kid, was marching to be a veterinarian. Then he was literally considering brain surgery, literally. Very, very bright. And then his senior year, he took his first art class. And 2 years before, he had gone to visit a distant relative of ours who owns an animation studio in Texas and spent a week there just sort of dabbling, just sort of having fun. And the cousin was like, this kid's got talent. And I was like, well, this kid can do this on the side. This kid's going to go to med school. That's great. Glad to know that. Hobby. Great. What makes me doing that? His senior year, as a result of that, he ended up with software that we could never have afforded, and he kept dabbling in it and getting better and better. Took an art class his senior year, and he was like, I don't want to be a brain surgeon. I'm an artist. I want to be an artist. I want to be an artist for the glory of God. And I was like, okay, seriously, number one takes a turn, and you think that's permission, so now number two takes a turn. So, yeah.
I can only imagine. I can imagine the conversations in that house when that one was announced.
Honey, I can tell you where I was standing on the stairs to the garage. I remember where I was standing when he told me. And I was like, okay, I've been here before. So
This is
we
a
did the
joke, right?
animation school, and he did online animation school.
Wow.
And
Bless his heart.
everybody was like, "Oh, great, great." His future in-laws are going to love that. Here, I want you to meet Mom and Dad. What do you do? I draw cartoons for a living. So, it was like, what are you going to do with that? But, this was God's plan for him. I couldn't argue the talent that he had. He got his certificate. I mean, you won't believe this. God gave us the opportunity to tour Pixar Studios.
Oh, my word. I bet
Seriously.
he was in
And the way
hog
he got that,
heaven.
oh, you cannot imagine. It was just the two of us, and so he got to do that because one of his teachers at the animation school works at Pixar. In fact, we stay to watch the credits because his name always comes up. Okay, we're there. So he gets us a pass to go into Pixar, and we're walking up the sidewalk, and I stopped Anderson and I said, "There should be music."
That's right.
Pixar. I mean, goodness. And so we met with this guy, got a tour of Pixar, and he told my son, he said, "You need to get a degree. You need to go to art school and get a degree." And I mean, he spoke right into my son and inspired him and encouraged him. And that's one thing I would say to moms and dads of high school kids. Intentionally choose some other voices for your children to listen to. And know now, and choose not to resent the fact that they are going to mute you. And it doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean they don't respect you. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It means that they've heard it. And at some point you become wah, 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 wah.
Charlie Brown.
You do. You do. And you can waste all of the high school years ticked off and angry, because let me tell you what they're going to do. They're going to quote somebody else, and they're going to quote somebody else saying something that you've said to them for 15 years.
That's right.
Yep.
They just are. And you can be ticked off, or you can just say, "Thank you, Jesus, that they finally heard it."
Yeah.
You know?
That's
I mean, this guy at Pixar, who he'd known for 45 minutes, is sitting there telling him, "You need to go further than this. You need to get an art degree." And all of a sudden, Anderson's like, "Well, I need to go get an art degree." Well, glory to God. Yay. Yay. So I have,
real story.
sent my son into the abyss of art school, trusting that God's either on the throne or he's not. And so he went as a junior, and he's got 2 years of art school to go to.
Wow. That's exciting, though. This is following his plan and not ours. Talking about ditching a plan. Darn.
Yeah.
Where's that planner? Where's that planner you have? We need to see.
Planner, but boy, it doesn't. Yeah.
Did you have the big X over that one? Did you just draw X's over his senior year and go, "Oops."
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole transcript thing, because that's a whole nother conversation too. But it's all about filling in the blanks when it comes to a transcript. What does this kid need to be what God has planned for this kid to be? And I think too often we obsess over the transcript. Oh, they didn't have. You know what? Really? We need to walk in the freedom we've been given and prepare our children for what God has planned for them to do. I would have been remiss to have insisted, okay, we own Apologia, but it would have been silly for me to have required for Anderson to take another science. That's clearly not what he needed. Clearly, that was not where he was going.
Right.
And so I think it's really about giving ourselves and our children the freedom to follow what God has planned. And it's terrifying sometimes. I mean, dropping your kid off in New York on Manhattan Island. I mean, that's terrifying.
I can't,
But if that's where God has him, then that's where I want him to be.
That's such a great point. I mean, here are the owners of Apologia, whose children, and Apologia is definitely known for their science curriculum, and here you are sending your child off to art school. Wow. Yeah, it's even more profound when you think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he
This is
marching
more
to
fodder for your next. This is more fodder for your next book. You know that, right?
Okay, yeah, right.
Is
You're
just
taking notes,
absolutely.
Right?
It needs to be something like, the name of this book is. What's the new name of your new book?
Oh, the new name is How Many Times Do I Have to Tell You?
But there was another name, right?
There was another name. It was, well, and you have to wait. The backstory, and it'll be brief, was that I was not asked what I wanted the title of the original book to be. My original publisher was focused on the family, and they named it for me, which sounds like a glorious thing, but the name was Soundbites from Heaven.
Yeah, and that's a good title, but this one's better.
I like this one. I'm very excited. Yeah.
So the next one is something along the lines of, when that planner is just, throw it to the, to the ocean or whatever, because, you just walked that one out.
Exactly.
That's pretty crazy.
How to get to plan A. Right.
Plan B. Plan B. When Plan A and Plan B meld together. So
there you go.
So tell us, this is a great segue into this book and into what y'all are doing. I love that Apologia is doing the Homeschool Teacher Appreciation Day today. And if anybody doesn't know it already, I'm sure you do. But if you don't know it, they're having giveaways all day long up until 6 tonight. And then there's going to be your hubby. Davis is going to be doing with the family man, Todd Wilson.
That's right.
And what is that going to be about? That's encouraging dads, right?
Yeah, it really is. Just encouraging them to take time to do Teacher Appreciation Day. They do it in all the other school systems. There's Teacher Appreciation Day in the public system and even in the private system. But what about appreciating the homeschool mom in your home? How can you do that? What would it look like? Why is it significant? I got to tell you, I'm sure that you would all agree that a little appreciation goes a really long way. And I mean, it means a lot to me. We've got Teacher Appreciation Day on the calendar around here, and it's a great time for the kids just to say thank you, because it's not an easy job. I'm grateful, love it. But a little appreciation is a nice thing. So I think it's something maybe overlooked by other husbands and kids, so it's a great opportunity for them to consider that option.
And then you're going to be having a roundtable with Todd's wife, right? So they homeschool too, obviously. So aren't you doing that as well? So
we are, and I just love the Wilsons. They are the best, yeah.
Yeah, and that's tonight at 9 Eastern. And again, you go back to the Apologia Facebook page in case anybody has not seen that, but it's all over everywhere right now. But it's going to be on Apologia's Facebook page, so keep going there. So, but I wanted to talk right before, we leave. I want you to talk a little bit about your new book, because we're loving it. All of us are reading it right now and at various stages, and we're having fun with it. So I love the birth stories. Leanne posted a birth story earlier. So, and the dare. I love the dare. I have to tell you, I was actually afraid of what my kids were going to say.
Yeah.
Weren't you? I mean, did you do this? Rachel, did you do it with your own kids?
Oh, yeah, and I've done it periodically over 19 years. I will still go back to them and ask every now and then.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, because I was actually worried of what I was going to get. But I did get an I love you in there. That was in the top 10. So that was good. But I love the dare. So I think a lot of folks need to hear what you're saying. So tell us about it. Tell us about how this book came to be, and tell us a little bit about what the book's about.
Okay, so the book is about, the premise is that I am able to sort of mute God. We talked a little bit earlier about our kids mute us. I think that as parents, sometimes we mute God, and we really want our kids to listen to us, and yet we're not listening to God. And I think God loves us so much that He will pursue us by what we're saying to our own children. Because I have seen it over and over, the very things that I'm dealing with, the very, very issues in my own life show up in my kids. And when it shows up in my kids, I'm appalled. I am just appalled that they would behave that way, say that, do that. I mean, my goodness. And yet, in that moment, the Spirit of the mighty God is like, come on, girl, you're doing the same thing. And I'm just like, oh. I'm holding, and I realize I'm holding my kids to a different standard than I'm even living. And that's pretty convicting. It's pretty
That is.
convicting when you want your kids to listen to you and you're not listening to God. When you want your kids to pick up the trash and you've got it laying all around on the floor. When you want your kids to turn down the music and you've got your blaring so loud the neighbors are pulling their hair out. When you want your kids to do something and listen to you and you're ignoring God, that's incredibly convicting. And that's what happened. It's been, oh my goodness. Wow, Ben was just a baby when Focus called originally to publish the original book, and it had happened just a few months earlier than that. I was standing there talking to Charles, my oldest, and I had my hands on his shoulders, and I said, "Look at me when I talk to you." And it was literally like a beam shone from heaven, and angels sounded like, "Woo!" And I was just stopped dead in my tracks, and I realized, when's the last time I was listening to God? When was the last time I looked to Him? And then Charles just, skipped off because Mom's in a daze. And I sat there. I literally sat down at my desk and started scribbling down all the things that I knew that I was saying to my kids, and all of the things that I was not dealing with, all of the things that I wanted them to do that I was unwilling to do. And it took my breath away. Originally, the name of the book originally was The Top 10 Things You Say to Your Kids That God Wants to Say to You, and which would have been great if there were only 10. But apparently, there are more than 10.
And another 10. And another 10 the next year.
Adding. In fact, I still have a list going on that I have not yet finished, because there's still, as you get they get older, there are more things. And in fact, that's what happened. I had the original 52 things that were in the original book, and they're in the updated book too, but I've added 18 chapters in the updated book, but an additional 18 things now that I'm saying. I wasn't saying to a 12-year-old, but be careful when you drive. I'm saying different things now than I was back then, but the point remains. I cannot hold my children to a different standard than I am living. And I need to make sure that as I'm wanting them to listen and walk with God and hold my hand and do all of these things that I put in the book, and they're practical things. Would you agree, Tricia, as you've been reading it, would you agree that these are everyday things that you say?
I agree 100%. Wendy actually is even further than I am, and she's loving it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not things that you're going to go, I've never said that. I promise you're saying these things, and it just really, yeah, you really are. And and even if the dare, which since you've mentioned it, I'll tell everybody what the dare is. The dare is, I dare people to go to your kids and ask your kids, what do you hear me saying? What is it? Don't use the book. Don't hand them the book. Just say, just off the top of your head, what do you hear me say most of the time? And they will be more than happy to tell you what you're saying.
Yes, I know. Mine kept going after the top 10. Thank you.
Yeah. You'll find you'll do it, and then the next day they'll go, oh, there's something else that you're saying. They're coming back with something else to add.
So they already have.
Yeah, and it's just very sobering. What are they hearing? Because there's always a disparity between what we're saying and what they're hearing. I mean that's true, but the reality is, if we're saying it sincerely and consistently, they're gonna hear that. But what are the things that we've maybe said in a rash, angry moment that ought not to have been said, that they think that's what you say? And what are the things that maybe you don't say often enough that you want to bring back in for them to hear more often? And then as you take that list, look at that list of the things that your kids are saying that you're saying the most, and take a moment of introspection and say, could it be that these are the very things that God would have to say to me right now? Am I doing these very things that my kids say I'm saying to them? I mean, I think it's very powerful.
And very sobering. Very sobering. Yeah, I loved it. When I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to stop. I did. I stopped. I didn't go any further in the book. I went and did my portion first, and then I went around the house and started asking them. And it was funny because they did keep coming back. Oh yeah, Mom, brush your teeth. Yeah, that was the other one. Brush your teeth. Add that to the list. I'm like, okay. So, yeah, my list is now, a mile long. But yeah, and there's actually, I have to be honest, there were a few things that I was very thankful that are not on that list. I was very thankful for them not to list things on that list. And I was like, now those are the things that I'm convicted about. Those are the things that I'm going, whoa, thank goodness that didn't show up. So yeah, definitely it's a great introspective exercise to start the book. A great exercise. I've never done that. Wendy, have you done it yet?
I have not, I'm afraid. I'm going to.
You can do it.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you're going to have to do it. You're just going to have to bite the bullet and do it. I'm telling you, I did it. And I was scared. Like I said, there were at least 2 things that I was like, oh, Lord, please don't let those be on there. Yeah. And one of my favorite is, can y'all do me a favor? And it's usually followed by, can you go do this or can you go do that? But it's always, can you do me a favor? And it was not on their list. And last night I was like, I know. I probably say it 5 times a day. If I don't say it 5 times a day, I say it 25 times a day.
Right. Yeah.
And I told my husband last night, I said, I was so thankful that didn't show up on the list. So that tells me that's something that I have to work on, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, God convicted me in it already. And so that's why you see I didn't get very far, because I was actually I was doing the exercise. I was doing the homework.
I'd like to do a follow-up book, and I'd like to talk about the top 10 things we say to our kids that God would never say to us. Like God never says, just a minute. He never says, he never puts us on. But I think that would be an interesting thing to explore, just like the top 10 reactions our kids give us, like throwing a fit.
Yeah, we're going to.
So,
the David Letterman. Okay, the top 10 things we're going to start doing Rachel's the top 10.
David was able to roll that for a long time, so yeah.
That's right, you could. You could. Start backwards. Okay, number 10 is, and she'll be doing those cards.
Drum roll.
That's right. That's right. So we also have a sale going on right now for a lot of the Apologia titles. It does not include the science curriculum, y'all. I did ask. I had to ask. It does not include the science curriculum, but all of their titles are $3.99 Kindles and iTunes and the Apple Store. Is that how it is, right? Am I right? Yeah. So y'all be sure to go out there and check those out. And this book is one of the $3.99 specials. So go get it. So so what's the rest of the day hold? Lots of more giveaways, right?
It does. It holds a lot more giveaways, and I've got to squeeze in a spaghetti dinner before we take a daughter to dance tonight, and then we've got to do the round table and figure out how to pick her up. So, we're doing the dance like everybody else is,
That's keeping it real.
How to get it all done.
Keeping it real. That is for sure. Well, we are enjoying the book. We'll be talking about the book. I'm sure Wendy will be talking about it earlier than me because she's further along than I am. But we'll be talking about the book and trying to encourage folks to find out more about it. And we'll be telling everybody this afternoon, of course, to go visit. And I love that Apologia is filling a gap. I love that y'all are not just sitting back on your laurels, because Lord knows y'all have some laurels to sit on. Y'all have, the most popular science, faith-based science curriculum out there for the homeschool world. We know that. And y'all could sit back and just watch it and go, oh, isn't this cool? But y'all aren't. I love that y'all are jumping in and doing some of these things and filling gaps. So thank you for doing that and for being there for the moms.
Well, it is our passion. It is truly the passion of my heart to encourage homeschool families. I mean, God has been so good, and I've learned so much about Him and so much about myself and so much about my kids and been so encouraged by His faithfulness. I just want to encourage other people to do the same thing.
I know. And you feel like you're, it's like we become evangelists for homeschooling. And I actually, it's not even that, I actually feel sorry for folks that don't know it. I was one of those moms that took my kids to school like you did. And but I was on the board for the school. It was a Montessori school, and so I was there for 3 years. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And when I brought my kids home, that relationship completely blossomed. And I don't think people even realize what they're missing. It is such an amazing walk and such an amazing experience.
It really is.
So, and I feel like I'm an evangelist. I feel like I'm like out there, y'all need to try this. I promise you, it's gonna surprise you. It's gonna hurt you. It's gonna scare you. It's gonna stretch you. But in the end, it's all worth it. So, well, we have certainly enjoyed. Wendy,
Indeed.
did you have anything you wanted to wrap up with? I know I enjoyed talking to you, Rachel, and getting to know you better. Thank you for your time.
I would just like to say thank you so much for the book, and I've read a little over halfway through it, and honestly, it has been a huge encouragement. I think whether you're a brand new homeschooler starting out or whether you've been doing it 15 or 20 years, I really, really think there are nuggets of truth in this book that we all need to hear, that we all need to admit to ourselves, and I honestly believe this is a resource. I would love to give it to every homeschool mom that I know.
That's right.
And thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, thanks y'all so much for having me. We'll do this again sometime.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And y'all have a great afternoon, and we will continue to let folks know about the giveaway and the Teacher Appreciation Day. And thanks for doing that. Thanks for even thinking about doing it and to encourage the dads. What a great idea. We got to have those guys on board to be really successful.
That's true.
Right. That is true. Well, we're going to close here, y'all. The resources are going to be over on the Apologia Facebook page, so continue to be checking that out through the evening, and we'll be watching as well because we want to hear about it too. So good talking to you, Rachel, and we'll do this again soon. So y'all have a great afternoon.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.